Okay, so the trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is now out, and in this video we're going to be bringing you a big breakdown of the teaser, the hidden details, and also our reaction to it. Now this is picking up in the aftermath of the holiday special. In case you didn't check it out, there were a couple of things that were dropped in it to set up the upcoming film. James Gunn even said that the holiday special was helpful because he didn't have to spend time explaining why the Guardians had nowhere, and so on and so on. In case you didn't watch it though, the main pointers that we learned from it are that they indeed own nowhere after buying it off the collector. Though it was destroyed during the events of Avengers Infinity War, they have fixed it up. We don't know what's happened with the collector, but his ship was spotted at the start of the Loki finale, with him flying past the camera as we travelled out of the universe. Other revelations are that Peter and Mantis are brother and sister due to Ego being their father. This was teased all the way back in 2017 when a deleted scene of Mantis' mother was posted by the actor. In the group shot photo, we could also see her at the back whilst Ego talked about all the kids he had. Finally, Cosmo the space dog found their voice, and we'll talk about them more later on in the video. Now if you enjoy the breakdown, please hit the thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe for videos like this every day. Out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into the Guardians trailer.
We were gone for quite a while. But no matter what happens next, the galaxy still needs its guardians. Hello, we come in peace.
Now the trailer opens with the Marvel Studios logo, which then transforms into the cover of the awesome mixtape. Gunn has stated that we will be getting a third volume, and after hearing how Nisha's song choice was for the holiday special, I can't wait to see what he has here. The Hall H trailer had the song Do You Realize by the Flaming Lips, which was pretty fitting for what's shown there. That focused more heavily on Peter and Gamora realizing that they weren't on the same page, and her basically doing a "it's not you, it's me," like literally that. Now the song contains the lyrics, "Do you realize you have the most beautiful face? Do you realize we're floating in space?" Bit on the nose for what was shown, but I appreciate that Gunn never goes with the most obvious pop songs, cause if I have to hear Paint It Black or Sympathy for the Devil one more time, I'm gonna lose it. Now for this teaser, we get the song In the Meantime by Space Hog. This is very much about someone searching for a meaning to life and discovering that whatever they do will push them through. It has allusions to anxiety and fear of death and how this can be a driving force. We see the Guardians returning to Earth, and they approach New York, which we can tell by the Statue of Liberty. They come across a neighborhood that's filled with hybrids, likely created by the High Evolutionary. They then walk down the ramp, and this shot echoes several from their prior movies. Now Groot has come a long way since being a teen in the last handful of films. He's way bigger and bulkier now, and Vin Diesel has said in several interviews that the film will have him coming forth as Emperor Groot. This is a big version for the character, and it's kind of like the final form of him, which makes sense for this being the final movie. They say that they come in peace, but Drax ends up smacking a ball off the little hybrid's head like it's that like button. This starts a big fight, and we cut to Quill in space listening to music and clearly thinking about Gamora.
Don't forget where we came from.
We have been running our whole lives. Pete, I'm done running.
Now, there was a trailer shown at Comic-Con earlier in the year, and like most of the ones that debut in Hall H, there were some shots that aren't included in this final release. I'll talk about what they are later on in the video, but I thought I'd just drop that up top in case you're like, what the hell is he talking about? That's not in the trailer. Anyway, the movie's very much going to pick up on the plot threads that were left dangling at the end of Avengers Endgame, with the Guardians searching for Gamora. The MCU's had a bit of a tumultuous time, is that a word? The MCU's had a bit of a tumultuous time during their production due to James Gunn being fired and then rehired by Disney to finish off the film. Originally, he was meant to be dropping this before Love and Thunder, and this was the film that was going to feature Thor. It would have given him a bit more urgency with them immediately heading out into space to find Gamora, but instead they had to have them at the start of his last movie to set up him going off to fight Gore. I think it's given them a bit of a distance though, which has allowed Gamora to set up her own group. There is a gang of Ravagers who the Guardians will be meeting early on, due to Nebula setting up a meeting with them. The sisters of course talked it out during Endgame, and clearly set up a way that they could contact each other. There was actually a deleted scene in Endgame where Gamora left the battlefield after everyone was dusted, but I think this was removed to keep up the mystery that she might have been wiped out with Thanos. Gamora is very much a woman out of time, similar to Captain America. I think it'll be interesting to see how she's found things in the future. Well, it's not too far in the future, it's like 10 years, but still, a lot can change if you look back. The Crazy Frog used to be popular. Now, Gamora is known as one of the fiercest women in the galaxy, and it makes sense that she'd be able to get people to follow her. However, she will be working with the Guardians once more, but she's making it very clear to Peter that she isn't the person he fell in love with. I think one of the most heartbreaking ideas at the centre of this movie is that she's right. We saw in Multiverse of Madness that Strange had to come to grips with the fact that Christine was off with someone else, and though there were others out there, he couldn't be with them. I actually think that might be the case here, with the pair not actually ending up with each other due to their lives being on different tangents. Peter would always have in the back of his mind that this isn't the Gamora he fell in love with, no matter how hard he tries. He even shows her a Polaroid of the pair because he's trying to force her to remember the life that they had. I love that they go with a Polaroid for this, as Peter of course got abducted in the 80s, so it makes sense that he'd gravitate towards using old tech with her. The story's obviously going to focus on Quill and Gamora learning to love each other, but I think it would be way more heartbreaking to discover that they just don't connect with each other. One of the big complaints about the multiverse is that death doesn't really matter because people can just come back. I think something like this would be needed to add actual stakes to the returns, and shows that it's not just a fix everything cop-out to bring the characters back. I also love the subtle stuff they do with Gamora's design as well, to show that it's a slightly more rough and ready version of the character. Not only has she been with the Ravagers for some time, but she's not been through the love story that the original version did. Her hair has a couple of flicks out from the fringe, and she seems a bit less groomed than she has been in the past. Nothing major, I'm not slagging the lass off, but there are these little touches that really add to her being slightly different. Now, he just wants to be happy like how he once was, and it's a big thing for the characters to go through. Now, Mantis is the one talking to Peter whilst this goes on, and she tells him not to forget where they came from. Peter and Mantis have their relationship of being siblings out now, and it's very similar to Gamora and Nebula's. Both had a father figure who wanted to force their will on the universe, and it's going to be interesting to see if they tackle this idea in the film. Now at this point we see a baby raccoon on Earth. That is obviously Rocket. We've nailed that Easter egg at least we've got that one right. His past has been teased at before, but this film will answer the question of what exactly happened to him. Rocket was abducted when he was younger and experimented on by none other than the High Evolutionary. In case you don't know who he is, this is a character called Herbert Wyndham, who was born in Manchester, just down the road. Well, not just down the road, but near me. Money in the building. Anyway, after debuting in the Mighty Thor issue 133, Herbert took an interest in the work of Nathaniel Essex, aka Mr. Sinister. He started carrying out genetic experiments and even built a device known as a genetic accelerator that sped up the evolution process. Evolution doesn't really work like that, but you know what I mean. What do you mean, explain? Well, a raccoon is as evolved as you are because evolution weeds out the ones who aren't strong enough to survive in certain environments. The ones that flourish there then can have children and pass on their genes to them. Further ones are weeded out, and you get the point. And you basically end up with a species that's perfect for where it is due to mutations. Say, kids, you always learn something here. Now, over the decades, the High Evolutionary has created several atrocities, and he's bred Dalmatians with chimpanzees and lots of crazy animals. I'm guessing that he's had a number of failures, but that Rocket will be the one who worked, and thus he'll be trying to get him once more in order to unlock the secrets of how to create more hybrids. Interestingly, this film will have a lot of characters in it that have been experimented on. Firstly, we have Cosmo, who we got to see more of in the recent holiday special. After the Collector's base was destroyed in the first movie, the dog was freed, and we heard it speak in the special whilst demonstrating its telekinetic powers. Voiced by Maria Bakalova, she's back all over this movie too, and will be playing a much bigger role. During the space race, the Russians sent several dogs into the stars to see what the effects of travel would have on a living creature. The first to orbit the Earth was Laika, and she did so in Sputnik 2. Sadly, the dog died due to overheating because of the stress of the journey caused, but the Soviets did manage to bring other dogs back as part of their program. Cosmo is going to have been gone a long time, and using Universal Translator, the group will be able to talk to her. I don't know if the dog is still alive from the 60s, but time obviously works differently in space. James Gunn has said that the movie will be one of the saddest MCU films ever, and I do have a feeling that potentially either Cosmo or Rocket will die. I don't know how many years the little guy is left, but either way we're going to be getting a big showdown between him and his creator. Might actually come to accept that he's in fact a raccoon. You are a raccoon, mate, accept it. Looking at his face, he has what appears to be metal under the skin, and it looks like the cybernetic parts on his back run way deeper. It's not all doom and gloom though, as we do see Lila in the teaser too. This is the love of Rocket's life, and it's such a cool moment seeing them together. The teaser does have some horrifying shots too, and a scalpel with blood on it that I'm guessing the High Evolutionary uses. There's also Adam Warlock, who will be played by Will Poulter. Similar to Rocket and Cosmo, he's been through experimentation himself, and we last left him being created at the end of Guardians Volume 2. In the comics, this is the character that's tied heavily in with the Infinity Stones, and he's actually a big adversary of Thanos. He's also got allegiances with Pip the Troll, who was teased at the end of the Eternals. I have a feeling that Adam will be popping up in the next Eternals project too, and with Eros being Thanos' brother, they can kinda tie him in with that. Now he was named Adam after the first man, however the name Warlock was given to him by the High Evolutionary. It's even possible that he might be working alongside him early on, or we could get an appearance once more by the group The Sovereign. Now it seems like they've changed the spacesuit style, as we see way more colourful ones that remind me a lot of the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie. In addition to this, it seems like we're also going to be getting the comic suits for the final film, with us seeing several shots of them donning the blue leather ones. Drax no longer has sensitive nipples, so he'll also be putting one on as well. Rocket ended up wearing one of these suits in Endgame, so my guess is that he's made some for the rest of the group. We even get the classic back-to-back shooting shot that's been present in a lot of films featuring the team. It's a callback to when Rocket and Groot did it at the prison, before Baby Groot did it on Rocket. Anyway, we see them diving in space towards a fleshy structure. This is later revealed to be the High Evolutionary's base. I love how there's this flesh-like structure to the spaceship, and it shows how he's trying to combine even minuscule things like this in any way he can. It appears that it even has hairs on it, which is such a cool detail. We see him watching over a white figure training, and Quill later leaps out on one. I'm not sure exactly who this is, so if you know, then drop it in the comments below. I'm guessing the Guardians get caught as we see them in what appears to be prison jumpsuits. This of course echoes the first film, in which they were put in one as well. Now James Gunn has said with this being his final Guardians film that some characters will die. He said it's not going to be a complete bloodbath like Suicide Squad, but that some of our favourites will end up going out. We've already talked about Rocket, but I'm guessing that Drax will too, due to Dave Bautista confirming this will be the last time he plays him. Drax has kind of come to the end of his arc, and he got revenge on both Ronan and Thanos, who were responsible for his family's death. The MC recently has taken a big focus on the afterlife, with it popping up in Moon Knight, Thor Love and Thunder, and also Wakanda Forever. I'd love it if we saw Drax reunite with his family after passing away. I think it would be the perfect way to end his arc. Now, due to all the connections to Earth, Rocket's origins, and the High Evolutionary, I do feel like Peter will end up returning there for good. This was the planet at which his mother died, and it makes sense that he'd want to avoid the place that gave him the most traumatic experience of his life. However, he has been there from time to time. I think the movie might culminate with him moving back there, and finally going back to the family that he was abducted from at the start of the first movie. Now, we also see the monster that the team fought at the start of the second Guardians film. For its use here, I'm guessing that it's part of the High Evolutionary's creatures, and he may have even created the beast that they fought last time. Anyway, we end with a nice little joke. Now, as for my thoughts on the teaser, I really dig it, and the Guardians have some of the best films in the MCU under their belt. James Gunn is always really good at balancing the comedy along with the more emotional, heartfelt moments, and I have a feeling that he's gonna knock it out of the park for his final swan song at Marvel. This is the culmination of the Guardians' journey, and due to Disney being unable to replace Gunn after firing him, I don't even know if these characters will return in a major way due to directors potentially not wanting to take over the project. Hope we get the perfect ending for them, and this is a big movie before Gunn goes off to DC. Obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the trailer. If there's anything we missed or didn't talk about, then make sure you leave it in the comments below. We are in a competition right now, giving away 3 copies of House of the Dragon on the 15th of December, and all you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the teaser. We pick the comments at random on the 15th, and the winners of the last one are on screen right now, so if that's you, then message me on Twitter at Heavy Spoilers. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of the Indiana Jones trailer, which will be linked on screen right now. Lots of fun talking about it, cool little things there too, so yeah, definitely go head over there right after this. Out of the way, thanks for sticking through the video. I've been Paul, I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.